This paper looks at the importance of needle length for vaccination against COVID in people with obesity. Obesity is typically defined as a body mass index greater than 30, which is a proportion of weight over your height. BMI is not a great index for gauging obesity. However, it is the easiest and most widely used. So for instance, I'm 5'9" and 185 pounds, so I'm well within the overweight category. If I were to get up to 195 or 200 pounds, I would then be obese. Making it important to note that being clinically overweight or clinically obese isn't necessarily what you might think it is. Now let's dive into the paper. So having a BMI greater than or equal to 30 makes you at a significantly increased risk of developing severe COVID when you have an infection. And having this clinical obesity has been shown to triple the risk of hospitalization due to COVID. Now, for adults over 19 years of age, we're most commonly immunized with a needle between 1 and 1.5 inches in length. But in general, for women with a body weight greater than 200 pounds or 90 kilograms, and men with a body weight greater than 260 pounds or 118 kilograms, they should be immunized with a 1.5-inch needle, where the longer needle length is to allow complete penetration through the fat in the arm to get into the muscle, where the use of inappropriately short needles may result in a weakened immune response to the vaccine being administered. For instance, a 2010 study of adolescents with obesity had 80% more titers after being immunized against hepatitis B with a 1.5-inch needle as opposed to a 1-inch needle, meaning they had a higher and more sustained immune response over the long term. But it isn't just down to needle length. More generalizable data on influenza A vaccination in patients with obesity points to a general trend of high initial seroconversion, so a high initial immune response with a greater subsequent decline in vaccine efficacy over time, meaning that the needle length is likely only one factor into this story. However, these longer needles are widely underutilized, where an inappropriate needle length is utilized about 75% of the time in individuals with overweight and obesity. What makes this incredibly important is that about 70% of Americans are living with overweight or obesity, meaning they face potential harm due to improper vaccine administrations, meaning they're likely not getting the immunized response that they should be getting due to this poor needle length choice selection, where the authors even provide a list of potential strategies that vaccination sites and overseeing agencies could employ to improve the quality and effectiveness of vaccine administration. First, they need to ensure the adequate supply of 1.5-inch syringes based on local obesity prevalence and anticipated vaccine demand. They could pre-screen the patients for body weight while making appointments. They should be pre-filling enough 1.5-inch needles each day based on registration screens. They could use a colored sticker or other non-stigmatizing symbol upon check-in to ensure identification by staff. So something like a green sticker could be a 1.5-inch needle, and a yellow sticker could be something like the 1-inch needle. They could train staff in non-stigmatizing methods to broach the topic with the patient, and they could also use point-of-care ultrasound to ensure the deltoid muscle is being penetrated when and where it's available. And one of the ones that are missing in this list is that education, patient education, making you aware that if you're an overweight or obese individual, particularly if you have a BMI equal to or greater than 30, or if you're close to that, that you should be requesting a 1.5-inch needle for your vaccine administrations, as this is going to make it much more likely that you're going to be getting an appropriate immune response because you'll be sticking into the muscle as opposed to the subcutaneous fat in your arm.